majority of firearm
But
deaths.
that
I'm
still
drinking.
doesn't
I'm taking Robitussin.
Oh, you sipping that scissor? That's a great time for us to start. Then welcome to Stopgap, everybody.
Busting that lean.
I wish
We got
that
pretty
lean was fun. I miss those days.
pretty
That shit
Matthew
was
back
fun.
on the lean. We fucked up.
That give me that active.
too many voices.
Give me some of that active. Give me some of that like 2006 era activeness.
Buy it over the counter.
I realized
there
that
there was a Lil Wayne mixtape where it was over the shoulder lean beat where he's like, my girlfriend's drinking that Promethazine. That was my jam back then. I think it was the Drought 3.
Oh, in reality, that shit is not very strong.
What?
The promethazine with codeine, like
No.
it's strong, but like if you go back, and it's not strong at all, really.
No, not especially not. Like for me back then, because I had a. Okay, so like.
well, no, it's strong when you roll the blunt, dip it in the lean, then light it. That's when it's strong.
I mean, it's strong, especially when you're mixing it when you're drinking lean and you're drinking alcohol.
True.
Too. You know what I mean? Which a lot of people were doing. But see, I've always been a poly substance abuser until I got sober. But I'm a drunk first and foremost. Like if you put everything down on the table, I'm gonna drink the booze first and then work my way through the rest of it. But like I had always had a affinity for opiates, for downers and stuff like that. So I had already done, done. I mean, heroin. I'm from the DC area. Baltimore and Jersey weren't that far, so I'd done heroin and tons of like pain pills and everything. So like when I moved down south and like lean was everywhere.
Okay, explain lean for the viewers real quick.
It's the original was Activist, which is a codeine promethazine cough suppressant.
The name comes from liquid codeine, lean.
No, it comes from.
No, it comes from you got that lean.
Which is weird because now there's a new lean going on from like fentanyl and hardcore heroin.
Yeah.
Where like it's called the Midwest lean.
Oh really?
Yeah, Baltimore's had that for years. We just see
the Baltimore lean,
like the fucking Baltimore not out, just somebody out on the street. But the whole thing with the lean was it was like a nice mellow, and it was like kind of long lasting for me back then. So like get a couple pints of it, get some strawberry soda, and then be a night of it. So it was. I mean, I can't deny like the whole thing.
Great.
Like we said right before we came on the air, man, drugs work until they don't. You know what I mean? Like drugs are fun until they aren't.
Well,
that's the reason people do drugs is because they work. They feel good. They make you feel different than they make you feel different than you feel. So like I can't, I'm not anti-drug. I'm anti-drug abuse.
Asshole that's on drugs,
Yeah, like I'm anti-drug abuse because I see the damage that it did in my life and other people's lives.
Do you think that if you wouldn't have turned into an asshole, like you would have stopped? Because like I've been like a
no. If there hadn't been consequences, I never would have quit doing what I was doing. I'm a pain motivated person, right? Like it has to get bad enough for me to want to change and do something differently. You know what I mean? So I mean, I was dying when I got sober. Like it was that bad. I was.
Brother, for example, we both started shit at the same time, and within like a month, he was like living in the tunnels, robbing banks and shit. Not banks, but like robbing like massage parlors, shit like that. He's in prison now, but it never got like that with him. I was always like able to.
You said that he lives in the tunnels, though. You didn't say he was in prison now.
Now he's in prison. Yeah, he's been in prison for the last year and a half.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, like one of my goals, like because I tried to get sober multiple times, and like after like after the first time I went to rehab, I stayed sober for like a good 8 months, 9 months, something like that. And then like I started drinking again, and it progressed like really quickly, which is this because the problem is like with a relapse, like nothing bad happens right away, right? So like I'd had it in my brain already. So like I stopped at the liquor store on my way home from an NA meeting and got a pint of Hennessy and like went home and drank it by myself. And like nothing bad. I drank like half of it that night and I got a nice little buzz and nothing bad happened. So then I was like, okay, I can do this every once in a while. So then I would drink, then I'd had like another drink like that weekend. And then like I had another couple drinks like a few days later. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, I'm just going to drink on the weekends. And then it was like, well, I'm only going to drink when I go out. And then it was like, well, I'm only going to drink this many drinks a day. And then it was, okay, my entire goal is to figure out how to be a functional alcoholic so I can drink all the time, but I need to be able to hold a job and like do all, and I couldn't do it. I never could. I have zero sense of moderation. Yes, I have zero natural sense of moderation.
I don't really either. I mean, I really don't either, but for whatever reason, I don't know why. I really don't. I mean, don't get me wrong. You're going to, a couple of years, you'll find me hanging like dead somewhere.
Right. I mean, but that's why when I got sober, why I had to get the whole way sober and not do any mood or mind altering substances.
Oh, yeah, because you can trick yourself. It's all about tricking yourself and telling yourself.
Well, because I always, because I know other people that have done like rational recovery and the thing where they do like the moderation, drinking, to where they teach themselves to only have like a couple drinks and an eat, but like if I'm not careful, like I'll sit down and eat an entire bag of Doritos.
Why do I feel like when Graham says it's about tricking yourself, it's got a double meaning when it comes to him and drugs?
No, I mean it's all about like if you've never been a drug addict, so you don't know what I mean. Like what I mean is
you just didn't pick up on the joke. That's the problem.
I got it. I know exactly what you mean. Trick. I get it.
How's his microphone always so bad?
I don't know. It was so good for a couple shows, and now it's like,
Is it bad right now?
It was good. We were doing
it's just super low.
It was really good, man.
Is it really? Okay. Let me see. Well, I'm on my phone now because now that my microphone's okay, my internet went out. So.
Oh, that sucks.
How about now?
Just hold it by your head for the next hour and a half.
I just use a pair of ear pods and I sound better than you.
My fucking
let's go ahead. Let's wrap this up. I'm gonna go grab a drink. We're gonna start news. We're gonna dive right into news.
I'll tell you.
What are we wrapping up?
Oh, actually, I got a story. That's kind of it's a weird fucking story, and then we'll get into news once I get this drink.
But just to clarify my stance on drug use and abuse, like that's the difference. Like I don't have any issue with people using substances, whatever substance, recreationally. It's when there becomes a problem that affects them and other people. So I'm all for the decriminalization of recreational use of all substances. Even like the super hard stuff. I'm for decriminalization and an increase in access to recovery options, rehabilitation recovery options. The problem is we don't have the money to fund any of that. So, and we've also built this prison industrial complex that needs to be fed. So that's not going to change anytime soon. But like, I don't think that we're doing any benefit for anybody by incarcerating people that use illegal substances.
I used to think that. I used to think that, and then I see my brother now, and my brother, is my microphone better, by the way?
Yeah.
At all? Okay.
Yeah.
So I saw my brother, and he was living in tunnels, like legit living in tunnels, being like a criminal. And now he's like, don't get me wrong, like I know that he doesn't have access to anything, and that's why he's being good, and that I'll see the real test when he gets out. I'm not fooled by any of that shit at all, but he's like a whole different person. I mean, and it's because he's sober. And I don't know. I know that he wouldn't have got sober if he didn't go to jail. But,
yeah, but did he have the opportunity to go to rehab for free? Like a good 28-day inpatient?
No,
you know what I mean?
No, but you know what though? They did give him a lot of opportunities. I mean, I can't he was looking at armed robbery with special circumstances, armed burglary. He went into a massage parlor with a shotgun and robbed everyone in there and the fucking place. You know what I mean? And then did not go to court. Like they gave him like 10 different times to go to court and he just didn't go. And that's why he ultimately ended up in jail. But I don't know. Like, yeah, they gave him a lot of chances, man. Like, and they didn't really charge. He only got 2 years.
Yeah, but see, the problem is when you give somebody chances, but there's no structure behind it. There's nothing. There's no there's no foundation to build off of, then you're not going to get good
Right.
results.
Right, because he didn't know how to even be a human being. You know what I mean? So like, how do you even like as many chances as he was going to get? He was going to fuck them all up every time.
Yeah, that's what I did too. I mean, for me, the pain had to, I had to get to that point. Also, you got to hit bottom.
Yeah,
your bottom
agree
can
with
be
that.
wherever you can be wherever you want. Like you can stop digging at whatever point, but you got to hit whatever your personal bottom is before. Go ahead, make
Right.
it.
No,
Make the joke.
I was like, I prefer power bottom.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, if that's the bottom that you're at, then you're in bad shape.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. If I hit that bottom, I would have definitely.
I'm a dom bottom. All right.
If I get anywhere near doing that,
That's a thing.
I like it to feel like I'm fighting back and winning.
Okay.
No. So my story this week. Oh, what's that? Is that the
Another Soren drop.
Oh, nice. I've been using this, and since they sell the pods in my local retailer, I'm like, why?
Have you tried the tip pods yet?
The tip pods?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
There's a company called Tip that's making pods for the air and the drop. They're dope.
Shit.
Yeah, and they're like half the price.
I like that a lot of these companies are coming out and making like universal pods. No,
yeah. So
yeah.
I had a drop that I enjoyed, but I got it secondhand from somebody, so it was like super beat up, and it is not. It hit the point where it wasn't pulling real well, and I have like 15 pods still. So I was like, I'm just going to buy another drop so I can use my pods up.
But my story this week. Right, happened Friday. When it happened, I went, fuck, this would have made a great story for Stopgap had it happened yesterday. So I get out of work, and where I work, there's a huge park. It's an enormous parking lot. Like, it's probably 3/4 of a mile on both sides. Like there's a cutout in the center of it, but you got 3/4 of a mile, 3/4 of a mile, and then the building I work. Like, it's a huge fucking parking lot. No, there isn't really wildlife in it because there's no like shrubbery or shit. So I get out to my car at 3 p.m. and I look, the parking lot's almost empty because like Friday people leave early, and I look and there's half of a rabbit sitting at my fucking driver's side door, like in between my driver's side door and my tire, and I go, what the fuck?
Rabbit?
I stand there and I look at it for a moment, and a dude walks by and I go, dude, there's half a rabbit by my car. And this dude, he looks and goes, yup, and keeps walking. Like that's a normal occurrence. Like, I've been working here 4 years. I haven't seen any half of rabbits. But like,
So what's weirder, that guy or
this
the
was
rabbit?
legitimately like just half of a fucking rabbit.
Which half?
The back half.
Good
Here.
question. Great question.
I was worried he was going to say the top half.
Just half of a rabbit.
Dude, that's what I'm saying.
Where's the other half is the question.
That's also
gotta
look
find
at
that dude.
look at how clean it is where that half starts. Like,
What the fuck?
I sat there and I was like, after it sunk in, I sort of did like the fucking look around to
Yeah.
see if someone's watching me. Like,
Right.
Is someone trying to send me a fucking message right now?
Right.
I was like,
some game
I was
shit,
like,
or
this is
that's-
some Godfather type shit. Where
Yeah.
like I come out to my car and there's a horse head on my driver's side, like. So I don't know.
Yeah, what does a rabbit mean though?
Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes.
Yeah, now it's a rabbit. What does that mean?
I don't know.
I don't
man.
know that one.
I don't know.
Did you
but-
figure it out?
No, I didn't. But it
Oh,
still
God.
perplexes me how it got there because I park like in the middle. I don't get to work early, so I don't get a good parking spot. I park like in the middle of this giant fucking parking lot, so it couldn't be like a fucking like we have foxes, we got coyotes, we got possums and shit.
What do you
out
think
here.
happened?
I think okay, I did some forensics. I think
A falcon?
I think it might be a bird of prey, but probably not a falcon
Oh,
because
dropped it?
they don't generally take off with it. The rabbit wouldn't have been running through this parking lot because, like I said, I was in the middle of it. I was like a half mile from fucking grass. I don't know of a rabbit that would like run into
No.
this paved over area, right? So I'm thinking that it got carried by a bird, but we have like condors and vultures here too.
A hawk.
So I'm thinking it might have been a condor or a vulture, but that doesn't like it doesn't explain why that sheer edge was so like so
Maybe- okay,
straight,
here's
so
what it is.
flat.
Stolen from a hunting camp.
Because there weren't like those tufts of hair that get ripped out when a bird of prey attacks something, or
Maybe
when
he's
it's
carrying it.
pecking shit away.
Here's what happened. He was carrying it, the bird, flying away with it in its talons, right? And as it went over your car, it kind of lost grip and it freaked out and it squeezed and it cut it in half, and then half of it dropped.
No,
That's
that
not-
wouldn't.
that's
no,
not how
that's
birds
not.
work.
They don't have like they aren't like blades on their feet.
That's,
They don't.
that's not how raptors
No.
work.
Well,
That's not
and
at all how they
that,
work.
that
Yeah,
brings up
freak
another
out
that brings up
panics.
another question. Like,
It's not Wolverine up there.
if it was a raptor that dropped the bird, that dropped the fucking rabbit, where's the like the head?
I
'Cause the
think
head wouldn't
no,
have
I
just
think-
popped
I think
off.
something. No, I think something happened to where the rabbit got chopped up and it grabbed half of it and flew away and dropped it.
Yeah,
That's yeah. Got freaked out. I'm telling
it
you.
might be it.
That would be my.
Exactly.
I mean, the other one would be that the other half of the rabbit is somewhere in your car.
But yeah, I stood there. I
Yeah.
stood there in
Car,
the
you know.
Behind
I stood there in the parking lot for like 45 seconds, just going,
Oh.
"Is this?
It's just real life.
Oh. I know
Did
what it
this
is.
really happen?"
It was you when you got out of your car. The rabbit started to jump in,
Oh,
and as you got out and slammed your door,
Yup.
you slammed the door and cut it in half. The rabbit's
yep,
still in your
that's
car.
got to be it.
Perfectly in half.
That's it. Car door, sharp car door.
Yeah, because everybody knows that when you compress a rabbit, the spine compresses with it and can slide through things like an octopus. Like it's like an octopus leg, so the spine just came out with it, and then the head just popped off.
No, an octopus
Okay.
is a very smart animal. No,
It's like,
never
like
been.
Mortal Kombat. Hit him with the scorpion.
That's what happened. All right, problem solved.
Maybe that's what it was. A scorpion. Maybe a giant scorpion was carrying it, and then the pincher is what cut it in half.
Clean in half.
Yup.
Clean in twain.
We figured it out, boys. There's no need to even. All right. We
Stopgap,
anybody
we
right
did
there.
it. Stopgap, we did it.
We did
Okay,
it.
okay, Sin. I was thinking it might have been hit by a car too, but this was like
Too
I pulled
clean.
I pulled into the parking spot. So it was central. Like it was right here with two cars. So it couldn't have been like hit by a car and thrown that way. I was in the middle of the parking lot, so it's not like the road they hit it on the road and it fucking hopped its way there. I don't know. I don't think it was hit because someone mentioned maybe it got like hit by a car thrown up into the wheel well, and that's what tore everything off of it. And I went, yeah, but how would it have landed at my front tire?
Maybe you were the one who did it.
Maybe, but I don't know. It's a Civic. I don't think it could kill a rabbit.
No. It could kill a rabbit, but you'd at least you would notice it.
So that was the
Yeah.
mystery of the week for me.
That's super weird, dude.
Yeah.
Well, has anything else happened since then?
Dude, I'm worried now. Like, if I'm gonna go for like a jog
Update us-
or go out and
Update
like,
us next week.
Find the
Yeah.
other half.
Yeah, like what's gonna happen tomorrow when you go to work?
There's just gonna be halves of rabbits everywhere I go now.
I know. What if you go in your bathroom and it's like, oh god, it's so creepy, dude.
Dude, what if it's like some sort of Indian voodoo shit?
Dude, that's
Yeah,
I'm kind of
that's-
what I'm kind of hoping is tomorrow you get out of work and the head's just there.
Dude,
Same spot.
there are tons of gypsies down here. What if I like cut off a gypsy and they cursed me?
Only one way to find out.
absolutely
tomorrow.
it.
That's
They
gotta
cursed
be
you.
That's
it's
a god.
it's a
They
gypsy
cursed
curse.
you. They cursed you bald.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Bald
have-
and skinny. They put the thinner curse on you.
They
Fuck.
they put the thinner curse
Sure.
and then they realized like, oh shit, he's kind of making it work. They went, let's step this up. Halves of rabbits.
Yeah.
Just everywhere
Oh,
he goes.
rabbits. That's like Fatal Attraction. The rabbits are very there's symbolism there.
Sin, who haven't I pissed off lately? Come on.
Oh God.
Was there like any teeth marks in it or like
No,
noticeable
dude.
marks in it?
There was
Italians
like
don't
no
make that.
marking, and like
He
normally
didn't CSI it.
normally when like a fucking hawk grabs prey, the prey is like trying to get out, so it rips some
Yeah,
tufts
there's-
of fur.
it's-
There's
right,
usually
it's noticeable.
There was nothing.
I think someone's got to be fucking with you.
Dude, it's
Yeah, I do
definitely
too.
it's definitely a gang thing. It's definitely
An initiation.
oh, what if it's like the Gypsy Mafia? They're sending me
It's
a message.
the Gypsy Marisol Vitrucha 13.
You
Yeah.
are so fucked. Whew. I don't want to be you.
13. That's good.
Dude,
That's good.
Don't fuck with them. That's 13, man. Them dudes
For the
them
record,
dudes
that
are
was,
no joke.
I had said nothing about anything 13 or 14 at all. For the record.
I've heard you say
Well,
plenty about some 13
no, I
and
have not.
14-year-old girls.
Said nothing. Well, that's true.
The interesting thing about MS-13 is like it's an American creation.
I thought they
Like
were Salvadorian or El
Oh
Salvador.
yeah,
They
like
are,
global
but
warming.
it was founded by. It was okay. So
right.
there were like all these kids that fled. There were all these families that fled and went to LA, and then everybody got deported, and then they formed it based like on Los Angeles street gang culture, formed it in El Salvador, and then exported it back out. So it's one of those. I mean, I don't mean to smile or make light of it, but it's one of those. It's a very interesting phenomenon, but they're like absolutely fucking terrible. That's one
They are
street
deep as
organization
fuck
that
out
you do not really want to fuck with.
Yeah.
They are deep as fuck out here. There's, oh my God. It's everywhere you go. I mean, there's like, you don't want to fuck with them at all. You can't even look at them.
I'm waiting for the racist statement.
I have no racist statement. I think they're fine upstanding citizens.
My house got tagged with MS-13
In New York?
No, the house like that.
In Washington?
Before I moved from
Oh shit. Those
You're
suburban
fucked, too.
kids are getting real angry.
Oh,
coming after you.
we figured out exactly who did it. It was this like trashy little girl that my sister invited over that was spitting on the floor in our house, and we're like, dude, you can't do that.
She
Like-
joined him at 13?
And then
Just
my
so
mom
that
was
she
like,
could
she's
spit
not
in your
welcome
home.
here. Well, no, my mom told her she wasn't welcome there, and then like that night our house got tagged with MS-13 on it. We're like, okay, sure. Like, no, you're not that.
You don't know. Maybe she's one of them. Maybe she's one of them light-skinned Salvadorians.
I mean, she was
Skinted, SKINTED.
Skinted.
Yeah,
Oh,
because you got to say it right.
that feels real racist.
Feels
Like,
good to say that,
dude,
right?
I didn't know that like we probably talked about this, but it took me 24 years to find out that mulatto is racist.
It depends on where you're at.
Like I thought mulatto was just like light-skinned mixed. Like
Well, it was a
like to me it's like a compliment because like mulatto girls, they're fine as fuck.
That's all.
Okay, there, Archer.
the problem is to how that word was invented and
Yeah.
how it was. Yeah, because I mean, I'm not going to get into the cultural history of Haiti, but that's where that came from.
Isn't it just a cookie?
That's Milanos.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, then I can say it's how it's racist.
Oh man, and then Australia had a candy that was called mulatto that was like,
They got some candies that are called
It
those
was
other
like
things too.
Vanilla.
yep, it was real bad.
What about the one that we saw?
But
Remember that
see,
one time?
But then you got the thing with that though is you have to remember like Australia has a completely different cultural history involving their indigenous peoples, right? So they had terribly racist exclusionary policies towards the Aborigines, but it was completely different than the slave culture in the Western world. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So like sometimes I have issues with people. Like racism is wrong, right? Racism is wrong. But then at the same time, you also have to look at different cultural, like where stuff is happening from. You know what I mean? Because it's a completely different history that people have with it. Just like the history of Black British people is completely different than the history of American Black people. You know what I mean? There's a whole different set. You know, like the N-word doesn't carry the same power there because that was not a word that was used in Britain to subjugate a class there. It doesn't mean that it's okay to say it if you're a white British person or whatever, but it's just it carries a different
It's
thing
kind of like the word.
Hit the link.
It's kind of like the word cunt anywhere but America.
Hit
Right.
the link in the Discord and tell me that ain't fucking racist in Australia. Tell me about their history after you hit that link in the Discord.
No, I'm saying Australia has a terribly racist history with their native Aborigines, but they also didn't have a slave culture that the same way that the Western world did. And I mean, if you really want to talk about like some interesting racial dynamics, look at Brazil. Brazil imported 15 times more slaves than the U.S. did.
Yeah, but
Something like
that ended up with a bunch of mixed Latina and black.
Yeah,
women,
but now
which,
they have a very interesting thing to where if you're white, that's an economic socio class. Like it doesn't relate to skin tone, so you can be like mad dark skinned and still be called white if you're in the higher social
see,
class.
that's weird.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like everywhere has their own different, because they all have their own different histories, right?
Yeah, but if you look at this,
like in Mexico, the native indigenous, what we would call Indians, like the native indigenous population has been subject to racism and exclusion. But you know, so when you see, and I'm not trying to sound racist or anything, but like Mexican people that look more like the traditional like Mayan Aztec-y type, you know, like South American indigenous, like they were treated poorly because of the Spanish ruling class that was in place for so long, and that's continued on through, right? So like everywhere, just like within black culture, within American black culture, there's colorism, but like to where people of different shades, there's like there's a bunch of animosity that can be in that culture as well. Light skin, dark skin, field, house, you know, brown paper bag test. Like there's so if you look, there's always like humans are just humans, and we always find ways to pick pick people to be other.
Just shitty creatures, just real shitty creatures. Speaking of picking people to be the other, let's address the elephant in the room. The big news. White supremacist shot up 2 mosques in New Zealand. Killed, what was it, 49 people?
Yeah, I believe so.
No way to fight back.
Like,
it went up.
Oh,
I thought it was 56.
Yeah, it went up.
Damn.
That was the initial, and then more people happened to end up passing afterward.
But that's another example of making an entire group the other.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he was
crazy. He was crazy.
Yeah,
he was intentionally trying to cause as much diversity.
I mean, he live streamed it.
And
didn't the government also decide to jump in and like ban automatic?
Oh yeah,
we're gonna.
But like
it took them
semi-automatic.
It took them six days from the time of the killing, of the massacre, to ban semi-automatic rifles.
But like before we get to that, like that dude was you can't take anything that he did at face value because he did so much that was literally just like I'm going to quote Trump and I'm going to quote Hillary and I'm going to throw up memes and I'm going to try to do literally any action possible to incite a riot. Basically,
he's kind of the. He's kind of the New Zealand version of Anders Breivik, if anybody remembers him. Who he was the guy in Norway that set the bombs and then attacked the summer camp of the children in, what was that, 2008?
But
something like that.
Could you imagine like New Zealand's got some shit that's fucked up, like their censorship laws and their like internet laws are super fucked. But, like, could you imagine what it would be like to be in a country where, like, a fucking tragedy happens? Like, people are massacred, and it doesn't become politics? Like, both sides can agree on something. It's not about, like, man, I wish someone was there, a good person was there with a gun, or, like, It's weird to
Is that
see
a good
people.
thing, though?
It's weird to see people come together after a tragedy instead of like because in this country when a tragedy happens it fucking separates the sides further and further.
People have rights. You know?
People have old outdated rights from before there were semi-automatic
Well,
weapons. Yes, they do.
Yeah,
And
I get that.
people
I
have
get that.
rights
regardless.
people have rights that they misread. Because the first line of the Second Amendment
Right.
says, in order to maintain a well-regulated militia. And right now, semi-automatic weapons aren't regulated in any way, shape, or form. I mean, there's the minor regulations, but you can turn 18 and you can go in and buy a fucking semi-automatic weapon. Like you don't have to. There isn't a wait list. There should at least be background checks.
But
You don't think the militias in this country are regulated?
Some states do have. It all depends on what state you're in. Like the laws vary per state.
and
That's my problem.
Yeah,
with it.
but you
well,
can.
and the other problem is that the laws that are on the books aren't enforced appropriately.
That's my problem. Is
how can you enforce it when somebody can go buy a gun from their neighbor?
In another state and then come back or
yeah.
They don't even have to get the gun from a store. They can just go buy it from somebody that doesn't want one anymore.
Yeah.
Even with regulations, they're going to get them anyway.
Yes,
what are you talking about? Like a criminal
that's the shittiest argument. I'm sorry, is that they're gonna get it anyway. That
what do you mean?
That doesn't mean no. You don't make it attempt. That is sorry. That is
what I'm saying
about that argument because it is so shitty.
That's not my
Yeah,
argument.
I mean, that's the same. That's the drug argument too. Like
exactly.
That's not my argument, though. That's not my argument.
No, it is a valid point though. But the only way to at least restrict it is if
don't encourage Graham by saying he said something valid.
No, it is. It's a good. You can't just dismiss that. I mean, that's what it is. People walking around with guns are criminals. The ones that are going to shoot up a mosque is a fucking criminal.
Yeah, you're right.
The laws you put on the books aren't going to stop.
No, you're right.
I want Alicia.
Yes, they could. Yeah. Look at Australia.
Wait. Let Alicia finish.
Right now, we only have laws that, or most of the stricter laws are by state. It has to be enforced countrywide, but it has to be within reason because you can't just throw a bunch of laws out there and have most of the population accept it. Unfortunately, most of the population won't accept a mass restriction on things. It has to be done slowly over time. But I still want my gun.
I love firearms. I love explosives and firearms and all that good shit. So
Graham, you say look at Chicago.
Look at Chicago.
Yes, guns are illegal. Chicago's also 40 miles from a state where guns aren't fucking illegal.
Right.
That's the thing.
That's my point. The fact
that we have such fucking changing laws from state line to state line, from fucking municipality to municipality.
And Chicago's not a good example either because of the underlying socioeconomic issues to where essentially like large parts of that city, it's kind of like Detroit where there's large parts of that city that have essentially been written off at this point. There's no kind of infrastructure or...
so they're not paying attention to the laws, period.
Yes, but you're saying they'll get no. Hold on. You're saying they will get a gun anyways, but they won't. Not if they don't have that outlet to get a gun anyways, because you say they're criminals anyways.
Have you ever been in the hood, bro?
Yes.
Have you ever been in the hood?
Hoods are full of guns because guns are available everywhere.
Okay, so if we can get
how are none of the guns?
Get rid of all the guns.
Hold on. How are none of the guns in the hood legal when the guns are legal in the state or the city or municipality?
None of them are. I don't know one person in the hood that has a legally fucking registered firearm that they're carrying around.
I mean,
most places you don't have to legally register a weapon. Most places you don't have to legally register a weapon.
You just have to pass and it depends by state, but like in Pennsylvania, like say Pennsylvania, you just have to be able to pass the federal background check, and then that's it.
Like Graham, why do you think there are so many gun shows? Because you don't have to register it.
I know.
You can just show up, grab a gun, and leave. Pay and leave.
No, you have to pass the federal background check to be able to purchase.
In Ohio, when I turned 21, Ohio has it there isn't a background check. There isn't like a national registry. You just
No,
have
you have
to.
to do-
You just
you
have to
have-
wait 2 days.
No, because they run. There's an ATF form. There's a form that has to be filled out and submitted to the
Oh, is
to
that
the
new?
ATF. No.
48-hour hold.
No, and different states have different waiting, have different. Some states don't have a wait period. Some states do. Maryland has a 7-day for handguns.
Yeah, because I know when I was in Texas and when I moved here, like I could just buy a handgun and walk out.
Yeah, because Texas has one of the laxest handgun laws in the country.
Yeah, and, I mean, but here, but like, because that ATF form, like it doesn't prevent anything because there are still states that can just give you the weapon over the counter. Like, it is harder to buy cold medicine than it is to buy a fucking pistol in so many states in the United States.
I could probably walk outside right now within 10 minutes.
It's a 4473 is the ATF form.
Oh,
and that's supposed to be filled out for all handgun purchase or all firearm purchases.
There's a 2-day hold though, right? On handguns,
that's by state. Because like I said, Maryland has a 7-day. I think Vermont is as soon as you pass, you get it.
But rifles and handguns and all that shit you can buy it over the counter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, rifles, handguns, shotguns. I know. Once again, in Ohio, when I turned 18, I could have gone and just bought a fucking AR-15.
You can buy a long gun. You couldn't have bought a handgun. You have to be 21 to purchase a handgun.
Yeah. They're pretty lax out here too. The laws.
Which is fucking ludicrous. It's ludicrous that like there are more restrictions on handguns, considering like, sure, a handgun might kill one.
That's due to the concealability. That's where that came from. And the majority of firearm violence is committed with handguns.
Yes, but you can't commit like if you want to put on a good face, like because politics, it's gonna turn about all politics. If you want to put on a good face, restrict rifles and semi-automatic weapons a little bit more. Put them at least on par with a fucking handgun, because no one's committing massacres with a handgun.
Right, but like, where does that stop them from committing massacres? I don't understand it. Like, I'm not trying to argue.
Look at Australia. Look at Canada. Look at Europe. Europe doesn't have gun massacres. Sure, they have other shit, but that's due to other problems that they have over there.
Right. So the answer is get rid of all of them or figure out a different fucking law. Because I agree, like, if they were all gone, if everything was gone and you couldn't get a hold of them, and we started fighting wars with fucking popcorn balls, then I say, yeah, that's great. But it's not a reality. It's not reality. There's going to be guns manufactured by and people are going to get them. And the only people that are going to be able to get them are going to be criminals. I just don't understand why that's not a valid argument.
No, it's not. It's a shitty ass argument because you're taking a really obvious thing that criminals are criminals, and your argument against that is we shouldn't do anything. That's where I have a problem.
It didn't stop them from outlawing cocaine.
Right. That's my problem. Is like
that's not what I'm saying.
Right. But no, that's why it's such an obvious fucking point. That's why I don't see why it's always brought up.
And why don't we?
Shit! Criminals do criminal acts. Holy fuck, dude!
Like then no. With that argument, Graham, then you should be like pedophilia should be legal because pedophiles are just gonna rape children anyway.
No, I don't even think that's what's legal. But like that's why I always say
like putting words in my mouth. Like
I'm saying because
I'm trying.
Because you went for an argument.
We are a little bit putting words in his mouth.
Like, I haven't said one word. You guys are like full blown, like saying.
But no, right. But that's why I always have a problem with that. That being brought up into an argument, right? That's why I'm saying I always hate that being brought up, like start as an intro to an argument or something like that, where it's like, yes, water is wet, but that doesn't mean like we shouldn't try to bottle it up and drink it or something, you know?
Right. So why don't we focus on that and try and stop that? You know what I mean? Like you can't just say that it's
because people are going to be shitty.
It's an obvious argument and then do nothing about it because and take it 5 steps too far. Like, why don't they enforce the laws that are already on the books instead of trying to, put?
That's great. Yeah, I don't know, but it's also like the other thing. The other thing too is like, okay, to me, yes, I want to keep my guns. I don't want to give my guns away, but there should just make a really plain, like a plain thing system that, okay, you have to go through this to buy a gun, and you have to take 2 weeks of driver's education, whatever, you know,
Well,
and
we
actually
just proved
have
it right there, where none of us knew the laws.
yeah. Well, no, that's
Well,
the other thing.
because
The big part
the
of it
laws
is
are
education.
so fucking thrown
It's-
about. That's the
But it's
problem.
Fragmented.
Well,
it's
but
also
that's-
going to that state versus federal, because even I'm looking at a big source for my CPL rights, which, and this pisses me off just because my mom's a federal employee. On all of the off-limit statutes, it never lists, oh yeah, by the way, it's still illegal on federal land. You can't take
Yeah, they're heavy out here with that.
things like
With
that.
casinos, banks, and
Right,
banks, and federal buildings.
And it's just one of those
Can't
things
go
where it's like, okay, this is the first site, and it's wrong.
right.
Like,
Well, no, and it's the whole states' rights, federal government, federalism, like that whole deal. So it is state by state. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I like firearms.
They're extremely fun. I really enjoy them. But
And I mean, I have firearms for personal protection. I enjoy going to the range. I will always have a firearm so I can protect my family, even though I know the chances of me actually needing to use it in that capacity are, vanishingly small, but I still want to maintain my ability to do that.
Peace of mind.
And I am conflicted because I am a proponent I am a proponent of the Second Amendment, in that it's I don't want to say my interpretation, but like one thing that I've always taken from that is essentially it's a right to be able to defend yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I have issues with when we want to throw down like blanket laws. I mean, that's the thing. I'm of two minds of it, right? Because part of me is like, yeah, it should be mandatory, in order to do this. If you want to drive a car, you have to take driver's ed, you have to get a provisional license, you have to pass the driver's test, etc. You have to carry insurance, depending on the state you're in. You have like all these things that you have to do. But like driving is not a right outlined in the Constitution. But then again, it's because automobiles did not exist when the Constitution of the United States was drafted. The firearm technology
the next time someone
that we have now was not in existence when the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution were drafted. So it puts me into a weird space between those two things. I mean, part of the issue I feel is people don't receive. There's a whole back. I know, like in the 50s and the 60s, like there were still like shooting clubs in public high schools. You know what I mean? Like you could be on the riflery team at your high school back then. People were more comfortable with firearms. People were more knowledgeable about firearms, which I think was probably a good thing overall, just as a society.
Education usually does a lot.
But part of the issue with like trying to legislate firearms to prevent mass shooting incidents, that's another place where it gets really tricky for me, because would removing semi-automatic weapons, if we could just like magically remove semi-automatic weapons from like everybody, would that cut down on mass shootings? Absolutely, right? But I'm trying to figure out the ways that I want to word this exactly. It's the issue. I mean, the real underlying thing is like we need to be able to work on the systemic societal issues that lead to people becoming so disaffected and bitter and angry that they think this is the way to solve things and to make a political statement is to go and shoot a bunch of people up. You know what I mean? Like that's the way that people solve the problems. But how do you get to where you can fix those things? You know what I mean? That's what it really and I feel like that's what a lot of the people that are super pro Second Amendment, that are like absolutely no regulation on firearms, this is the dumbest thing, if you take guns out of innocent people's hands, you're doing a disservice and all that. Like I think that's what that comes down to at the bottom, is like we need to fix the societal stuff that allows that when people become this disaffected, that this is the way that they choose to resolve it. But nobody wants to pay to make those changes. Nobody wants to put the work in that would be required to make those changes. And like, I don't want to give up my firearms, and I don't want stuff to be limited in the future for me. You know, we were talking off air, and like
I mean, I have just as much fun shooting a pump shotgun as I do shooting a rifle.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't care if shit's restricted to me. Like, I'm fine if they restrict it to make it harder for these sociopaths to go out and just get a weapon and commit a massacre. Like, I'm fine with that, because I enjoy shooting a pistol, a 6-round pistol. I enjoy shooting a pump shotgun, like, just as much as I enjoyed shooting wow, I can't remember, M16.
Right. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, and like in a personal defense situation, is a 6 or 7 shot revolver going to be just as effective as a semi-automatic self-loading pistol? Probably yes. If you look at the statistics, it's normally 1 to 2 shots are the most that are ever fired in these kind of situations in a citizen-involved shooting. But at the same time, this is almost like the whole, like the Flavor Art North America thing. I don't like being told what I can and cannot purchase, right? I don't like FA North America telling me that I can't purchase flavors because they have diacetyl in them and they don't want to be held responsible for that. Just like I wouldn't like to be able to, I wouldn't like it to go into a gun store and be told that I can't purchase.
I agree with the personal liberties aspect of it, where it's like I should be able to buy this stuff. I should be able, but when that ability becomes,
at what point does individual freedom need to be trumped by the good of the society?
Yes, because it's what, there's for every like million gun owners out there, there's maybe one that is planning a massacre, or planning some sort of tragedy.
Can I mention that most of these tragedies have happened shortly after the people went out and purchased a bunch of guns, including ones that are assault rifles? I mean, most of these people don't just have them laying around waiting to be used for that purpose.
No, they get to the point, they decide they're going to do this, and then they go and start preparing everything. You know, they go and stockpile and do everything that they're going to do. Yeah.
Maybe a great law would be to restrict how many guns you can purchase in one go. I mean, the person who did the Vegas shooting, they went out and bought a bunch of guns over the course of like 2-3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they bought a shitload of guns. You shouldn't be able to buy that many guns in that short amount of time. Clearly something is wrong. Unless you have some sort of a gun dealing permit or something, you shouldn't be able to, you should have no need to purchase that many guns.
And once again, that comes down to the states thing, because like some states have restrictions on the amount of firearms that you can purchase, you know, monthly or yearly, but normally those are restricted to handguns. But yeah, I completely understand what you're saying, and it makes a lot of sense, but there's still this libertarian part of me that's like, I don't want anybody telling me that if I want to spend, you know, if I want to buy 10 AR-15s, that I can't buy them. Do I need them? Probably not. You know, but
are you going to buy them? Probably not.
No.
But you're not the person that
right, and that's the
that kind of
right, and that's the that's why I said, that's why I understand where it's coming from, but I have that, you know, that libertarian part of me that's like, no, you shouldn't. I don't want the government to have the right to tell me what I can and cannot purchase.
I mean, that's why I always like the education angle.
Then
I see it as like, no, make it like owning a car. Make it, no,
Yeah.
It is a right, but you have to do something to conserve that right. Like
we could actually, you know what, now that you said it like that, you could almost justify it, because in order to, because like voting is a right, but in order to vote in the US, you have to register with selective service when you turn 18.
And then you also have to do jury duty. Like there
are requirements to be able to enact your rights.
Yeah, these constitutional rights have requirements, whereas when it comes to firearms, you can just go out and buy a fucking gun.
Depending on your local,
yeah,
depending on your state and local.
And if you can't buy one locally, travel 50 miles in any direction. Guarantee you'll be able to find a gun that you can just buy.
That depends on state to state too, because a lot of states have stuff where you can't just if you live out of state, if you don't have an in-state residence, you can't purchase firearm there, because there used to be a lot more loopholes. They used to call the 95 corridor, the I-95 corridor, was the Iron Highway, because people would purchase and then they would drive them to different states to where they couldn't get.
I mean, they set up those sort of residency issues with fireworks in a lot of places, and I mean that. Look at how that worked. No, you just drive over state lines, tell them that you're not gonna blow them off in state, and then head back home.
Yeah, but and then I don't know. There's like like hollow points are illegal in New Jersey. 10 years per hollow point.
Yeah.
Legal gun owner, legal gun. 10 years per hollow point. Yeah,
Damn.
Hollow points are illegal.
Hollow points are illegal in most places, aren't they?
No. No.
What am I thinking? High impact? Yeah, high impact is definitely illegal.
Armor piercing.
Yeah, there's another round that's illegal pretty much everywhere.
Incendiary.
Incendiary, I can't remember what it is. I think it's hollow rounds that have the fucking plastic tip in them.
No, you can have ballistic tips. You can buy those. That's Ranger XP. There's some rounds that like the FN57's made with a ballistic tip.
But yeah, the whole point of my story is that I wish we lived in a country where, like, when a tragedy happens, we didn't immediately start
try to kill each other,
fighting with each other.
Well, I mean,
like,
and that's
that there was
I didn't read his manifesto, but that was even one thing that he brought up in there. There was a whole section about firearms in the United States.
That was I had a friend who read it, and he summarized it for me, and he said, like, his whole agenda was in order to start the gun debate again in the United States and separate the Republicans from the Democrats, and then have the Democrats push in their states to outlaw these weapons so that the Republican states could then subjugate and destroy the Democratic states. And, like, what really fucked me up was when, like, a fucking sound-minded person that I work with who read the manifesto was like, yeah, he makes some good points. And I went, are you fucking serious right now? Like, I don't know. And I guess that's the problem, is that when with news coverage, again, this guy commits a massacre, his name, his face is plastered everywhere, and that manifesto that he wanted to get recognized, he wanted people to read, is now probably one of the most searched things.
And that's something we fucked up as a world. Because I do want to give credit to New Zealand. They did everything they could to not have that happen.
Yeah, I've actually made sure, like, I don't know what he looks like, and I don't know what his name is.
Well, in the UK, when shit like this happens, like, their laws to protect the accused,
right?
To
but also,
sure, like, that
in their country, because the BBC was one of the biggest aggressors of putting that out.
When they're in the UK, you have to hide. Like, you can't disclose the identity, and there are legitimate punishments for media agencies that do disclose the identity of the accused.
Mm-hmm.
If that was more of a global standard than just UK or European people in Europe, it would be much better, I guess. I don't know. I'm just afraid of copycat killings because this guy, that was his entire agenda, and I feel like it's going to motivate people who have the same mindset.
Yeah, he's going to spark some people, which is, it's terrible. It's frightening.
And then it'll boil down to exactly what his manifesto fucking was intended to do. The exact impact he wanted to have with the fucking gun laws, because someone's going to copy him in the United States, and it's just going to start this thing again that's going to separate the two parties once again, and we're going to turn to squabbling when there's a tragedy instead of turning to remembering the victims and finding some way to ensure that it doesn't happen again. That's the biggest problem I have. Is that it's not that we aren't changing gun laws. It's not that we aren't making them harder to get. It's that nothing gets done about it. There's nothing that is done to try and prevent it in the future.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we can't even have a adult conversation about these sorts of things.
And I feel like that's now that I worked my way through it on air, like that's the issue that I have. It's not that we start fighting. It's not that we don't have gun restrictions and don't have gun laws. It's the fact that this tragedy happens and we argue about it for a week and then nothing comes of it. There's no change. Nothing happens. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a depressing situation. I mean, and also with my, me being pro firearms, never mind. Not even gonna. No, we're good.
Were you gonna have a Gramism?
No, it's just it's not gonna add anything to the conversation.
Were you gonna call me a liberal snowflake?
No, I mean that's another thing that's difficult for me is I'm in a really weird political space because I'm so like personal freedom, responsibility, independence, whatever, but then I'm also big on like social system reform and helping people out and having the money put in place for social structures, and it's a hard place to be because there's certain things that the Republicans are for that I agree with, but then there's a ton of like social stuff that the Democrats are for that I agree with, but then there's other huge parts that I disagree with both of the parties for. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm all for like tightening up. Like I'm 100% for tightening existing gun laws and like stringent enforcement of them. But then I'm also a proponent of disassembling the National Firearms Act because I don't think short barrel rifles, short barrel shotguns, and suppressors should be such a tightly regulated item. You know what I mean? Like I want to be able to buy a suppressor the same way that I want to be able to walk into the store and buy a short barreled rifle as easily as I could buy a 16-inch barrel rifle.
Here's a solution. America's all about capitalism, right? We're all about the free market. We use that to regulate guns. When a shooting happens, we find out where that gun was originally purchased and fucking levy hard punishments against the people that sold that gun. That would require people to look. That would require manufacturers, would require retailers to instill their own checks and balances in order to prevent this from happening again. Because the reason why there is no change is because of the money, the amount of lobbying that goes on. That's why nothing ever changes when a tragedy happens. We start hitting these organizations, these people where it hurts, and maybe then we'll have some sort of change where, like you said, guns are fun. Maybe don't outlaw them, but maybe just make them a little bit harder for fucking psychopaths to get their hands on.
And even being like I mean, this was what I was going to say earlier, is like even being such a big proponent of the Second Amendment and being an enthusiastic lover of firearms, I'm completely anti-NRA. Like I severely dislike the NRA and think that they should be.
Well, it's shown that they've been infiltrated by foreign agents.
But
I
he
mean,
has disliked them from before that.
True.
yeah, but I mean, my issue is they don't actually care about they don't care about firearm rights or firearm owners. They care about money.
Companies.
Yeah, they care about the money that they generate for themselves.
And that's everything in politics in this country. It's all about that scratch.
To an extent, yeah, that and power. Because I was going to say, relating back to what you were saying earlier, pretty Matthew, the vast majority of this country is actually middle. It isn't. We're all left wing or right wing, and that's part of the way the two party system's gone. That is part of like
right, but it's
issue. Well, no, it's
but
part
it's
of
accelerated. It's gotten worse than it's ever been before.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is because politicians have gotten farther and farther apart.
Well,
and that's because they have to win primaries.
Exactly. So they have to go. Yeah, exactly.
So one way.
Yeah. So you can't have a medium Democrat anymore. You can't have a medium conservative anymore. You have to be all the way one or the other. Or you're going to risk alienating the base. But the problem with that is then I don't have anybody that I want to vote for.
I blame early thousands politics, because early thousands politics, it became about flip-flopping.
No, that was only scandal, man.
Where people would be vilified if they voted against their party on a topic.
I really feel like the current ugliness and incivility in politics, it started with the Monica Lewinsky, Bill Clinton impeachment era. Was when this really started. You know what I mean? Like when Newt Gingrich is being held up as a paragon of the Republican Party, there's some big problems there. You know what I mean? Like when Republican candidates have to sign the Norquist, the Grover Norquist like tax promise, like there's a big problem. If you don't sign that, then you're not going to get backed by the Republican Party. Like there's a big problem with that. When Karl Rove is organizing the takedown of a governor in Alabama, because he did, because they disagree with what he's going to do,
and we almost had change. We almost had it turn around. And it's weird that I use the term change, because the change would have happened had Obama lost. Had McCain won the not chosen fucking Sarah Palin. Had McCain actually won the presidency, I feel like it would have showed to both parties that you're able to cross party lines on certain issues and still maintain the support of the country. Because McCain was prolifically like cross party. Like that's what he was known for. He was known for a guy that crossed party lines, which
we're mavericks.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, like had he not chosen the fucking the Barbie from Alaska that had nothing going on upstairs.
There's an HBO movie called Game Change that's about the Sarah Palin selection, and I highly recommend, if you have Amazon Prime, it's on there. It's available to stream. I mean, if you go back to the time, like they thought they were really doing something, because they knew they had to compete against the first black guy that had an honest shot. You know what I mean? So he was like,
I mean, if
we don't have a black guy, so we'll pick a woman. Basically,
why couldn't Hillary Clinton have won the candidacy that year and then let McCain do his 8 years? Obama runs again, and now we've got, like, I feel like the country would be in a much better position had McCain won the presidency and then we still had Obama, because McCain was for standardized healthcare. He was for healthcare for the people. Mm-hmm. He could have laid the framework, and then Obama comes in and hammers it down. Or fuck, if I don't know, it probably would have made his race worse. But if McCain had won the Republican primary, and then chosen a liberal as his running mate.
Well, that was his original plan.
Yeah.
Was he was going to go with Joseph Lieberman. Was his original choice, but they thought that he would lose. He wouldn't be able to get the nomination without having another Republican on the ticket, without having another
on the ticket. Because
it's a great game. It's a great game of what if, because I think there would have been. I think he would have had a more legitimate. He would have had a much better shot at winning.
I think he would have won. Yes, absolutely. If he had chosen a liberal, because even liberals weren't all behind Obama.
Right.
If he had chosen a liberal, that would have swung some people to the Republican side. And Republicans, we've seen how fucking hard-headed they can be.
I think at the same time, Obama did have a large majority of vote, but it's also, you're right, not everyone was behind Obama, but also going back to McCain, not everyone was as anti-McCain as they were a lot of people actually on both sides.
And this brings something up, since says I just read, and everyone has to vote. If we made jury duty mandatory for people who don't vote,
everybody would vote.
We'd get more people out there.
That's why I kept saying put weed on the ballot.
Everyone vote, because not everyone has a very high IQ. They might not really do their research. They might not know what the issues are. They might not just care and might just fill in some boxes.
It's a constitutional.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of people that are well informed that don't go out and vote because when the more informed you are, the less optimistic you are about everything that's going on. And some people just see it as like, if I go out and vote for a system that's already broken, already not going to represent me well, then I'm gonna get punished by getting a leader that is an absolute piece of shit, and I'm gonna have to do jury duty. I'm gonna miss out on work, get paid a fucking measly stipend for doing it, and then I'm out no matter what happens if I vote. So a lot of people abstain from voting even if they are informed.
Yeah, jury duty is important though.
It is very important.
I still haven't done it,
but I think voting is more important. If it, or maybe make jury duty.
Disagree. I'm just saying, but jury duty is an important thing that everybody should participate in. It's unfortunate the onus that's been placed on it to where people don't want to, but it is like an important thing to do for everybody to participate. I mean, that's the way I have a ton of issues with our criminal justice system as well, but that's the way that it's structured, is for everybody to be able to participate in it. And so when you don't, you're only hurting. You're hurting everybody, including yourself.
And talking about McCain, can we go over the fact
that people to vote?
That fucking
give people the day off.
Yeah, true. That too. Give them the fucking day off. Like make it
Other
a government holiday.
Other countries do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but on the McCain thing, can we just address that Trump is still like talking shit? He said he wasn't. Oh my! I don't know how any self-respecting Republican can still stand behind Trump after he says, "I didn't even get properly thanked for the funeral I gave John McCain."
Yeah, I don't like that at all. Not even a little bit.
That is.
I prefer heroes that weren't captured.
I mean, give me a break, dude. That's crazy shit.
I prefer people that actually, like, when they get their draft notice, don't defer it 4 times for bullshit.
That makes me so. He was a hero. He was a hero that wasn't captured. What do you mean? He didn't fall into the draft.
He didn't even go. Yeah, he avoided the whole thing.
It's like the equivalent of like the Civil War, when you could like pay somebody else to go in your place when you got called up for the draft.
I rarely get so angry that like I have violent thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing and hearing that, like it got my fucking blood boiling. It got me to the point where like I was driving home and I could feel my fucking heart thumping in my chest because I was so fucking aggravated.
Yeah.
What about Kellyanne Conway's husband saying that he's mentally unfit? That's the part that's the thing that probably scares me the most out of everything. Because he's real close, and he wouldn't be saying that unless he really fucking meant it. I mean, his wife is
look at John McCain's look at the whole John McCain funeral thing. He said, "I haven't been thanked for what I did for his funeral." Like, that wasn't set up by Trump. Like, that funeral wasn't set up by Trump. That was a standard funeral for a respected lawmaker.
Right. I've done many.
Did he get buried in Arlington, by the way, or did he go home?
I'm guessing remember. He's in Arlington.
I'm just gonna say this too. I've done many funeral services. Never once has it crossed my mind I should be thanked for doing this.
Yeah, and
it's a narcissistic thing.
The whole what's his name? What's the Conway's guy?
That's the weird part about it to me. It's like, I mean, I've been a pallbearer for people who are close to me, people who aren't.
Kellyanne. Kellyanne Conway's husband.
Yeah, well, Kellyanne Conway's husband, he didn't just say that he's unfit. All he did was tweet the medical definition of narcissistic personality disorder. And to show the pure narcissism, Trump grabbed that and immediately got angry about it.
He's buried at the Naval Academy, by the way.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
It was narcissistic disorder as well as the spectrum. The whole.
I wouldn't fucking doubt it. Look at the way he treats people. You got to be.
I mean, he doesn't care about anybody.
Yeah.
So.
I think sociopathic is more accurate.
Well, that was the other. He's on the spectrum of being a sociopath, clearly, but like that's what the other thing the guy posted was Kellyanne's. And then, of course, she's on the news like later on that day, like, oh no, he's not either of these things.
It just, I don't know, man. That like, especially with like a president, because like, they got a fucking job to do. But the fact that he goes so far out of his way to disrespect not just the dead, but like the respected dead, like it got me super fucking angry.
Oh, but another world news: Brexit's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Place your bets.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. There's the UK petition to drop out of Brexit just hit 2 million votes in the first day. Granted, that party is essentially the same party that's in charge here, where they can just go, nope, there was that's fake news. It was put there to manipulate people, but they won't. I don't think they'll call for a referendum because they know they'll just get fucking steamrolled.
I think Theresa May herself got blocked from being able to do that.
Well, no, Theresa May got blocked from negotiating on Brexit because she's fucked it up so many times.
I just
like
sorry British people, but that's kind of funny.
They just put the fucking send another referendum. They already made a precedent by the first referendum. It's obvious that this is getting fucked up. They can't come to a deal. Start a new referendum. Because I guarantee you people's opinions on Brexit has changed. The whole Brexit thing was like, it was touted as like, we'll just leave the UK, the EU. We'll just leave the EU. And now that they see that there's this whole legal mess, this whole economic mess that's happening because they're trying to leave the EU, I guarantee the opinions have changed. And like, if they run another referendum, it'll probably be about 80-20 is my guess, because the people that are pro EU, that are for staying in the EU, won't sit idle this time.
Still just gonna keep laughing about it though, because it's a train wreck.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not actually laughing. Kind of really sucks, but it's still interesting as an outside looker.
But
wasn't it like a joke? Aren't they saying that a lot of people thought it was a joke? Like
Yeah.
they went in and that's crazy, dude.
yeah,
You guys want to see the thing I made?
not really. Sure.
Yeah,
Let's
Try
see
it?
it.
sure. I'll support that.
All right. It's.
Is it in a fire?
Oh,
Oh, that's
sick.
dope.
And
That is
it's got
sick.
all the dice on it. This is all felt. This is almost dry.
I want
There's like a little separator thing right here.
to print some dice towers. That's what I want to do.
If you do, and then
Why aren't you making like shirts or something?
why am I not making shirts?
Yeah, those ones like you did for the mix and whatever those girls are.
Why would I make shirts?
Yeah, look how
Right now?
making
Okay.
shirts last time worked out for her.
Yeah, it might not be a great idea, huh? For Stopgap or developed.
Or Stopgap.
Yeah,
You guys
developed.
have asked me to do that so many times and never have given me a logo.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
All right, I'll give you a logo.
That's
I'll give
okay.
you a logo real quick.
I
It better not be a picture of your dick.
I don't see why we'll need to sell the 3 shirts to the people who listen to this fucking
Hey,
show.
you said we could give them away.
14 right now. We have 14 viewers. I want to
Oh,
mention
we're still on the air.
5 of them are.
Yeah. Speaking of still being on the
Listen,
air, I think
here's
that's
the
it for
thing.
the show. I'm pretty sure we're all emotionally worn out
We
after
need
the
to
fucking
appreciate these
topics
people
we
that are
covered.
listening. We do.
True. True.
All right. I was listening to Gary Vee today, and I know he's kind of douchey, whatever, but he said that one of the biggest problems is people are constantly like, if we have 15 listeners, a lot of the people would be looking for that 16th instead of appreciating the 15, and that's where people fall in trouble.
I
I
appreciate.
mean, we could get this to at least 20, but
I mean,
I appreciate all 14 of you.
I don't even really like him that much. But I'm just saying we should appreciate him.
Yeah, no, I talk shit about him every show.
We should. Yeah, we
you
should.
gotta
do
just
that. We
give
should.
them a wrench.
You guys have terrible taste. Why the fuck are you watching this?
Yeah, I don't even like me. I mean,
Yeah. No one does.
that's true. Why wouldn't they? I mean, why would they?
But I feel like everyone but Graham is emotionally and mentally drained from the topics we covered today because there was some
I
heavy
am
shit.
too, man.
Well, yeah, but you got to dip out for like 45 minutes of it because because your internet
that
was
was-
shit.
Yeah, that wasn't stressful. That didn't take 35 minutes off my life. Fucking stressing out about that. Like every time I'm just, it's a big ball of anxiety every time we're doing anything. It's just all anxiety that's gonna drop out. I get the mic thing fixed, and then the fucking internet goes out.
Yeah.
It's. There's
Um,
okay. So let me ask you a question. Maybe like if somebody can help me. One of those 15 people that are top-notch people. My internet is public, right? It's like a public internet thing. Is there anything I can do to boost my signal?
Because
that's what it
You
is.
can find out where the signal's being emitted and build a small antenna or build a small dish to get it to the antenna.
So wait, is it literally just free Wi-Fi that you're
I'm
on?
in a resort. I'm on a resort, and the resort has Wi-Fi. It's not free. It has a password and all that shit, but it's only for the resort. But it's just like, there's like thousands of people here.
When you say it's not free, I want to clarify. Do you pay for it?
Do I pay? Yeah, we pay. I pay for it when I pay for my my space. My space is like $1,200 a
Okay.
month.
Okay.
So yeah, I pay for it. It's not my own. It's not my own internet though. I don't have like a. It's through the resort. They have the routers or whatever. It's like I don't have an actual thing I can restart or you know what I mean.
Go bitch.
And complain that stuff is slow and make them fix it.
That's what I said. Just go bitch.
All right. Well,
I mean, you're paying
All right.
for it. Go bitch about it.
let's end this fucking
Nightmare.
nightmare of a show.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. We will see you guys next week. We might do D&D next week. I'm not sure. We'll put something out in the middle of the week if we do plan to do D&D. I got to talk to the guy I got to talk to Verve and see how he's coming along with building us a story for 2.5 hours of a show. Sick dice.
Ooh,
Nice.
Yeah.
Sick.
cool.
Why would fuck
You can
be
use
on
that little
20
box.
instead of 1?
It's on the 1, not
Oh,
on the
okay.
20.
Okay. But
See, the 20's there.
I don't know. Don't let the world fucking break you down. Don't end up like me. Don't end up like me, just being jaded
Or
as
me.
fuck. You know, don't let that shit get you down. Keep your heads up, everybody. Things
Next week, Fantasy World.
Things can get better. All right. Well, later.
Not likely later. They can't.
Oh, wrong song.
I don't know. I have to find out what the wrong song is.
These dice are way heavier than I was expecting.
All right, I'm out of here.
Later.
Catch y'all. Everybody work on members.
Metal dice.